Welcome back to the Happy Clients Podcast. Today I have a special guest. His name is Brendan Schneider. He is a lovely client of ours here at DOT, and we have actually a funny story that we want to tell you on this episode. Brendan has grown from being an employee when we first met to now running a successful marketing agency, and we are so lucky to be a part of that. So I'm excited for you to hear about Brendan's story, and hopefully this will help you skip years ahead if you are thinking about growing an agency yourself. So let's get into today's episode. The Happy Clients Podcast is for agency owners who want to stop losing clients to poor communication, broken handoffs, and founder dependency, and start building the kind of retention that makes your agency scale. Every week, we pull back the curtain on what great client management actually looks like inside an agency. If you've ever wondered what it takes to remove yourself from client management without things falling apart, you're in the right place. Agency owners, your team is filling out timesheets from memory on Friday afternoon. That means the numbers you're making decisions from are wrong. Timeglass fixes that. It watches what your team is actually working on, drafts the timesheet automatically, and your team reviews and approves in about a minute. Accurate time, real profitability data, no nagging. Happy Clients listeners get 50% off for the first 3 months using code HAPPYCLIENTS. Check them out at timeglass.ai. I just looked on my calendar, and the first time you and I met was November 2021.
I have a story we can tell.
Because I was talking to the girls the other day because we had an in-person meeting. I was like, I'm going to interview Brendan on the show. And they were like, I was like, I remember when we first met and you still had a job. I'm pretty sure you were at school.
I was at school. Do you remember you told me? I had reached out to you. So I was at school, had this as a side hustle, and was starting to grow it a little bit. Didn't know what would happen. Knew I needed help. Was starting to lose my mind a little bit. Reached out and we had a great call. And you said, Brendan, not yet. You said, you're not ready. And you said, we'll be here when you are. And I don't remember how long it took from then. It was maybe a year and a half. And there was stuff that happened in my life that kind of led me here. But then it was like, okay. And I reached back out and I don't remember if I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready. And then you're like, okay. And then here we are. And it's been, how many years now? So it's been great.
That's amazing. Well, I'm excited to dig into your story and hear about this because like we were saying, when we first met, this was a side hustle. It was still kind of an idea. Yeah. You were still working at school and now you have this successful agency and it's been years. And so I'm excited to kind of dig in and learn about that whole process because a lot of people who are listening, they might be at that point where it's a side hustle and that the agency seems like a huge, burden or a big thing that they have to build, but you've done it. So I'm excited to hear about your story.
Yeah, I can tell you that for me, I always wanted to do it, but quite frankly, I didn't do it because of fear. So, I've come to entrepreneurship later in life. I kind of say that I'm old and fat, not wise. And it just took me so long, but really it was fear. It was fear, and it was practical fear. So I'm based in the U.S., married with kids, have to worry about healthcare. So obviously in the U.S., our healthcare is tied to the job. And I'm like, how am I going to ever make that transition? How am I ever going to do this? And then what happened was, so it would have been, I'm coming up on 4 years now being in the agency, is that I was at my school, had been there. It's a long story that I'll spare everybody, but I got let go. They came to me in January. There was a big hullabaloo. They fired my boss, the head of school. And then they said in January that we're not going to renew your contract. And we, my wife and I came home and had a heart to heart. And what are we going to do? And we didn't want to. So we're based in Pittsburgh and we didn't want to leave. Thought of a bunch of things and finally said to my wife, okay, I think I can make this work. I just can't make it work like tomorrow. So I'd kind of ruined her. She was a CPA. She went back to work and got healthcare. And then we've been together a long time. So she was like, all right, dude, figure it out. And that was kind of the runway and the support that I needed. And I think back on that time, I was 50% more excited than I'd been in a really long time and 50% scared out of my mind.
I can imagine. Yeah. I was I was grateful kind of as you were telling that story. When I started my business, I was young and didn't have kids yet and could just kind of, if it didn't work out, it's okay.
Yeah.
But now being a mom of two kids, like I think I would be more scared, to your point.
And my wife, and actually at that time, here's the other thing I would tell people: the timing is never going to be right. It will,
No, that's true.
I was sort of telling myself that lie, if I'm being really honest with myself, reflecting back. It's never going to be right. Looking back, it's like, okay, as long as your partner's on board, because we had a son who just graduated from high school, was going to university. So we had university tuition. And my wife was like, hey, dude, we can eat peanut butter and jelly for a long time. I just don't want to do it to the kids. And I'm like, totally get it. Totally get it. And our daughter was, I think, entering middle school at the time. She's in high school now. So it was, again, not the best time for this to happen, but the universe said, here you go. What are you going to do with it? And the other thing that was really a blessing was finding out in January. And then the weird thing in schools is that I had to finish out the contract. So, because they're not renewing it, I didn't get fired. Although I do say I got fired because that's more sensational. It's fun. But so I worked till June 30. And I remember telling my team at school, they're not renewing me. I shouldn't be involved in any of the conversations going forward. So I had a little bit of a runway to start my business.
True. That's amazing.
And what I did was I reached out to the Rolodex and I just said, hey, could I get, I was also at school a fundraiser, and there's an old line in fundraising that if you want money, ask for advice, and if you want advice, ask for money. So I reached out to a bunch of people and said, hey, could I get your advice on starting my business? And I told them what I was thinking, and I wish I was smarter than this, Taylor. They were my ideal client. I just didn't know it yet. Got advice, and that's how I got my first clients. People were like, well, Brendan, I need that help. And I was like, oh, okay. And it turned into a sales call. And I was like, I wish I was smoother and I had figured that out, but it just was kind of a happy accident.
Hindsight.
Oh, totally. Total happy accident.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us what you do now. What does your agency, what do you do? Who do you serve?
So we serve, I say tuition charging schools. So private schools, independent schools, Catholic schools, Christian schools, Jewish day schools, anybody who charges tuition. I call it a little more full service. I say that in the school context. People listening in the agency context, they might be like, really, Brendan? But so Google ads, meta ads, SEO, reputation management. We build on software that we have, and just we try to be like, schools just need help. They just need more help, and they don't have the internal capacity to do the work. And the other thing I got so frustrated with is seeing, whether it was my own experience at a school or talking to colleagues, is they would get an agency who would, and I'm not going to, belittle the agency, but they would run, the school didn't know what they needed. So the agency would they'd run Google ads and they would just run traffic to the homepage and things didn't make a difference and it didn't work out. Or the agency would give the school a lead. So the agency, quote unquote, did their job, and then the school had no idea what to do with it. They would send one email and then nobody would reply and they'd be like, oh, it didn't work. And I'm like, oh, people, that's not how this works. So that's what we're doing. And then we have clients in the U.S., have an international client, and I'm starting to get some international school conversations as well. So it's pretty fun.
Amazing. And so what does the agency look like now versus what it did when you first started?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we've grown, and that's in terms of client number and teammates. It's all contractors, and probably just being more systematic and more organized. In the beginning, obviously, I didn't have revenue to have outside help, so I was doing it almost all myself, which, I'm trying to process now and think back if I would have done anything differently, and I'm not sure I would have, just because I didn't have the revenue to do anything differently. But adding teammates and adding external help has been great, but that's also necessitated process. Just to try to be responsive to schools, because I know you've talked about this. I listened to all your stuff, by the way, but I know you talk about this, and I can kind of start to tell now when a client is in trouble in terms of retention because of the lack of communication. they're not getting back to you. And then we're trying all the time. Like we tell our schools we want to meet once a month and we need to go over everything. And when they start not getting back, I'm like, okay. But I would just say size and scope of the team, the work, and just being more organized and trying to have processes. Look, I'm not sure we're ever going to get there, but as long as we're working to get better, that's kind of what we're focusing on.
So what does your role look like now versus when you started? Because you were doing everything. What are you doing now?
Yeah, it's really important for people to figure out what they like. Probably heard that from you too, but I like the sales and marketing and I like the strategy. So I'm trying to get out of doing all day-to-day stuff. So we manage in Basecamp, and my Cam has been great about trying to keep that off my plate. And then when there's stuff to do, she pings me, perfect, great, no problem. But just trying to, again, I do love the sales and marketing and I do love the strategy. So that's what I want to do.
Amazing. And what's shifted in terms of the client experience? So when it was just you managing all the clients to now having a team managing your clients, what changed?
That's a good one. I think so. It's really a lot of stuff that my Cam thought about. It wasn't in my radar, like sending a welcome gift. These little things that wow moments as you get started, so I should have known it. So I was a former admission director, and our line used to be, as soon as you enroll that family, that child, you have to start thinking about re-enrollment. And no different from an agency. So as soon as they sign the contract, I need to keep thinking about the next month and the next month. Or, we try to do year contracts just based on schools. It's a different vibe. But like, get the next year. And it's obviously about delivering results, but it's those experiences and those wow moments. So like, send a welcome gift. I was like, duh, I had never thought of that. Have the welcome email, the introduction, the process, kind of that wow moment so they feel like it's not just some, I don't think we're rinky-dink, but it's not just some rinky-dink with some guy on a computer. And that has that's been a big change, but that really came about from my Cam and just, thinking together about ways to be better.
Mm-hmm. So if you were talking to an agency owner who is maybe 1 to 2 years behind where you're at, they're just starting and kind of trying to build up what they think is an agency, what advice would you want them to know?
The first thing that comes to my head is get help before you think you need it.
True. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I go back, it's never going to be the right time. And I think one of the things I've tried to do is learn my numbers better, in terms of the financial side of it, so that I can pull the trigger earlier. So like the way this is the way I roll, but it might not be for others. Make the decision when it hurts a little bit, right? Where you feel like, oh, this is going to feel gives me a little anxiety. And then it has just helped to free time. I sleep better. Like there's less stress, stuff like that versus waiting too long and then driving yourself into the ground. I never got there, but I did wait too long on a couple decisions.
Like what?
I think just adding contractors to help me with this because I was worried about the budget. The other thing too, people might deal with, I've never been somebody that's a control freak. You have to make sure you get people that have your level of attention to detail and worry and stuff like that. But as long as you do that, I'm happy to let people run. The other thing is I bring people on, and this is just from my experience of working at school. I want people who are go-getters. I don't want people sitting around going, what next? So hire for that, try to figure that out. And I've been able to do that so that people, I try not to slow them down. And then they're telling me, Brendan, great, let's go. But I think that the thought is know your numbers so that you can make that decision to get help before you kind of lose your mind.
I agree with you there. Be obsessed with your numbers so that you're in control. Never really.
No, I know, Taylor. I don't feel like I'm in control. But I don't think I was as good. I'm still learning, right? Because, it is what it is. But, the other thing, too, if they haven't done this has been a godsend for me is, this is kind of weird. So, like taxes in the U.S., I have this crazy fear of the IRS, which is our tax thing, right? Like, so I hired an accountant first day. First day. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I need help. And he's really served as a mentor and kind of a business advisor too, which was a bonus. He just liked doing that work. But hire an accountant to get that out, make sure things are okay, legal and number wise, but then knowing your numbers so that you can make the decision. So I think that was one thing I didn't really have a grasp on. Like, I made sure bills were paid and stuff like that, but in terms of projections, I mean, I'm still learning, to be fair, but
I mean, it never ends.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, which is part of the fun of it. You know, being older to this, it's invigorating and I like learning, and that's been really fun.
Amazing. Well, what's next for you? Where are you taking the agency, and what can we be on the lookout for?
That's one of the things that, and maybe this is what is entrepreneurial and what we're drawn to, is I always have ideas, and that's not always good. Like, it's like, oh, squirrel, look, let's go over here. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I've tried to stay focused on things that we need to get done, and then think ahead. So one of the things that I've been kind of dragged into sort of kicking and streaming is having a website product, which I didn't really want to get involved in, but I saw like the schools that we're helping just need help. So we're thinking about that, have the framework of that, pardon me. And then the other thing is in-person event. So the other thing that I have is a membership site called the Marcom Society, which is training and community. What happens, it's a lead gen opportunity, but it's just, I taught a long time ago, so it's just kind of in my nature, but bring in guest experts and do that. So the great thing is that part of our consulting clients get into the membership complimentary.
Nice.
And then I'm trying to take that and do a live event. So whatever that looks like,
So like your clients would come, or anybody?
Anybody. It would be anybody.
Cool.
And then my thought is that, if you're in the membership or you're a client, there's obviously a discount. I've done stuff virtually and I've enjoyed that, but when you're on Zoom, it's
hard. Yeah.
And
in person.
The worst is like doing a webinar on Zoom and you're speaking into the void. I really feed off of that interaction, seeing people. Or, if you're bombing, pivoting, like I don't know if I'm bombing, right? Because it's just the screen. So, and then with AI and content, like the in real life stuff is going to become more important. So we're thinking about that. What does that look like? And so those are,
how has your business changed since AI?
I'm a geek and I use that as a term of endearment. Love technology, always had a being comfortable with technology. So I'm leaning into it hard. I've just been experimenting with the past little less than a month or so with Claude Code. Oh my gosh.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Like, so I was using chat. So if anybody's here, I switched to Claude early because I liked its writing better. And I switched to chat, and then they did co-work, and I was playing with co-work because code seems so, like, I'm geeky, but I'm not that geeky. And then I got some training and figured it out. And for me, the unlock was having the connectors within code and just letting it go. And Taylor, it's unbelievable, the stuff that we're able to do, and helping our clients, but also helping the business. And like, so the code will connect to my community, connects to different things. It can evaluate, do audits, help us with content, help us think through things. The other fun thing is that I've created a strategic board of advisors in Claude in chat. So asked it to write a prompt, gave it ideas. So like I have these 5 personas that if I need a thought partner, I mean, I know it sounds weird. I'm like anthropomorphizing an AI, but like I go in there and say, hey, I'm thinking about, like for the website thing, I'm thinking about this, and, shoot me down. Give me what's good, what's bad. What am I not thinking about? It's been fantastic.
Isn't it great? And they don't judge you?
They don't. I have made mine be a little cheeky, so it'll come back at me hard. But I'm working at home all the time. I was in a school every day for 28 years. I had people all the time around I could bounce stuff off of. And like I say, my wife loves me, but she doesn't get this, so I talked to her. She's like, yes, dear. Okay. That sounds great. Whatever. So I needed somebody else, I can use the AI to kind of bounce ideas off of. So that I'm leaning into it hard. Yeah.
I love that. You have to. That's amazing. So, where can people find you, Brendan, if they want to learn more about what you're up to, maybe read your book, listen to your audio?
Yeah, that's right. Wrote the book. That was fun. The book is called School Marketing the Right Way. It's on Amazon and all the things. The blog the website's just SchneiderB.com. And then I play on LinkedIn a lot. I'm enjoying that. So just Brendan Schneider, and you'll see me. And I think my brand colors are orange, so I think everything's orange. That's what'll pop up.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brendan. These are the conversations that we want to be having here on the show, just learning from you, hearing about your story, how you grew the agency. And if you're listening to this and this episode hit home, please send it to another agency owner because it could help them grow. And maybe some of the things that Brendan said will help them skip years of pain and get to that success point. But thank you so much, Brendan, for coming.
Yeah, Taylor, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Cheers to happy clients.